It's strange what fear does to the human mind, how quickly it turns the unknown into a target, how fast we mock what we should dread. For generations, we've stitched together our own doom in fiction, pop culture, and collective imagination, grinning like fools as we built monsters in our likeness. And somewhere in the middle of all this storytelling, something ancient, something patient, waited for us to stop pretending. It didn't need to chase us. We were walking toward it the entire time. This doesn't start with a biohazard warning or a pixelated video on a conspiracy site. There was no seismic shift in the sky, no panic broadcast. It started on a day I slept too long. I was a second-year student at Wilburn University, a private school with too much ivy and not enough soul. My schedule was wrecked from too many nights at off-campus raves and too many mornings fueled by regret and espresso. That Thursday morning, I woke to silence. No alarm, no roommate, just bright light slicing through the blinds and the low-grade throb of a hangover building behind my eyes. My roommate, Ella, was already gone. Her desk was cleared, laptop missing, bed made tight like military corners. A quick check of the time made my stomach drop. I'd missed advanced bio completely, but I could still make it to cultural perception and cognitive theory if I sprinted. I didn't even brush my teeth. By the time I stumbled into the lecture hall, red-faced and gasping, class had been going for about 10 minutes. The only open seat was halfway up the left side tier, beside a guy named Reese who I'd actively avoided all semester. It wasn't that Reese was unkind. He was polite, smart, maybe. But there was something off about him, something that made the hair on my arms rise. A car accident, I assumed, or a fire. His face looked like wax half melted, smooth patches fused over sharp, scarred ridges. One eye filmed over, the other too dark. His right hand was curled like a hawk's talon, fingers stuck together in misshapen lumps. His left was bandaged, though I could still see red skin seeping beneath. He looked over as I sat, nodded once, and turned back to the professor. Dr. Kepler was mid-lecture, animated and pacing, laser pointer flashing behind him on a screen. He was talking about mass psychological response to media stimuli, stuff about how culture trains our reactions before we ever think for ourselves. Then he said something that caught everyone's attention. "This," he said, "is government-obtained footage, never aired, used for research on dream interference and perception processing. You'll be the first non-lab group to see it." That got a few phones out. He pulled the lights. The screen clicked and whirred as the video began. It was black and white, grainy, sound crackling with static. An older man's voice narrated over images of motionless patients hooked up to wires, pupils dilated like black holes. Flickering shapes, animal sounds played in reverse, diagrams that twisted as they rotated. It was nonsense, pure, targeted nonsense, designed to shake the brain loose from context. Students started whispering, scrolling their phones. I found myself watching Reese instead. He wasn't whispering, wasn't blinking. His breathing had gone shallow, chest barely rising. His fingers twitched on the desk, then stopped entirely. His jaw slackened. Drool slipped down his chin. I leaned away, unsettled. I didn't want to make a scene, but something felt wrong. Not wrong like creepy, wrong like radiation. That's when his head snapped toward me. One of his bandaged fingers, still damp with seepage, hooked inside the collar of my hoodie and yanked. I screamed. A button popped and flew. Half the class turned. I scrambled, nearly falling into the lap of the girl in front of me. Reese pulled his hand back slowly, like he didn't know he'd moved it. His eye, only the good one, was focused hard on the screen again. I thought that was the peak of the weirdness. It wasn't. Not even close, because 30 seconds later, Reese stood up. His chair clattered backward, slamming into the tier below. He stepped on the table, swaying, facing the projection. His back arched unnaturally far, like something was pulling his ribcage open from inside. His mouth opened wide and he screamed, not in words, not in pain, but in something older, primal, a war cry from the guts of a predator. Everyone froze, then panic detonated. He leapt. The boy in the seat below didn't even have time to react. Reese landed on him, teeth first, hands around his throat. I heard the sound, flesh tearing, cartilage crunching. It wasn't like TV. It was wet, slow, animal. A scream tore from someone behind me. The auditorium exploded into chaos. Students shoved over chairs, climbed over one another, tried to escape. A girl fell and was trampled. Someone grabbed my hand and dragged me toward the aisle. I slipped in a puddle, looked down, and saw blood streaked across the tiles like spilled paint. I scrambled under a desk, hand screaming in pain. My wrist had been stepped on, twice. My vision swam with tears. Then everything stopped. No screams, no footsteps, just chewing. I lay still, pressing my face against the cold metal underside of the desk, listening to Reese eat someone alive. Minutes passed. I didn't move. Eventually, a low sob echoed from the back corner. A girl I didn't know. Blood on her clothes. She tried to run. He heard her. He charged. She made it halfway up the aisle before he tackled her, dragging her by the hair to the front. Her screams broke apart into choking sobs. I stayed hidden. There was nothing else to do. But a part of me snapped. Not all at once, like an old floorboard under pressure. I couldn't die in that room. I wouldn't. I thought of my mother, my brother, the last text I never answered, and so I moved. Slowly, bleeding, bones grinding, I crawled along the desk row. Every sound was thunder, every breath a risk. Halfway down, I knocked over a thermos someone had left behind. It clanged across the tile. Silence, then footsteps, heavy, deliberate. Reese was hunting me. A voice, no longer human, whispered from across the room. I can smell you. It was so quiet, so calm, I nearly threw up. I reached the end of the row and saw him. His face was soaked in blood, mouth open too wide, like his jaw had unhinged. And those eyes, still black, still gone. I had one chance. I gripped the thermos. I stood, and I threw. The scalding coffee hit him square in the face. He screamed like a dying animal and stumbled back. I charged, slammed the desk into him, didn't stop. My body moved before my brain. I ran down the aisle, slammed into the far wall, hit the emergency exit. Light, cold air, sirens. Then the thud of him slamming into the door from the other side, over and over. And then, silence. A spray of blood hit the small window, and Reese fell. His head was gone. A man in black tactical gear stepped into view, gun still smoking. He looked at me, said nothing, and opened the door. Everything after that was a blur. Hospital lights, IVs faces asking questions, men in suits with perfect teeth and cold eyes. No press, no statements, just silence. It was ruled a murder-suicide. 3 students dead. No word about the tape. At the inquiry, weeks later, we sat in a windowless courtroom under flags and fluorescent lights. A man named Dr. Hartley explained what happened. Reese had been in a fire as a child. His surgeries, his treatments, included experimental anesthesia. Some of it rewired neural pathways. The film, Hartley said, had triggered them, activated a hidden part of his brain no one knew existed. Like flipping a circuit breaker, he said. No explanation beyond that, no footage recovered. But I didn't believe that. No one loses classified material, not by accident. They had the tape. They kept it for study, for weaponization, for control. And if that tape could trigger one person, how many more are out there? How many people walk around with the sleeping monster behind their eyes? How long before someone flips another switch? We spent decades pretending the apocalypse would be something we could shoot, bomb, or barricade. But this is worse. Because the monster isn't coming for us. It is us,